What's up, everybody? Hope you're doing well. I'm going to go live here on Instagram, and we're going to get after this. And hang on 1 minute. I am flying solo tonight. Bash had a family thing, and family's very, very important to me, so I wanted him to have that. So let me pull up here Instagram Live, and then we're going to get after it. I don't even know how to run the intro. So, hey, Instagram, you're going to be joined by Nick Dunlap, 2023 U.S. AM champ. And tonight, we're going to be chatting about some good stuff. You know, it's one of the cool things about working with a player from the time that they were a kid and being around their life is watching their maturation. Tonight, we're going to talk to Nick about what it was like to win the USAM, what it took in that moment to actually pull it all together, the pressures, the stresses. I ran over to Eastlake today to check on my guys over there for the Tour Championship. I'm back in Birmingham tonight. So it's all some really good stuff. So if you've got questions for Nick, if you got questions here, if you're watching me on Instagram, make sure you follow me over on my YouTube channel. It's really simple to do it. I'm not going to bring you in live. I'm not going to pull you up on Instagram. You got to go over to my YouTube channel and click my page, and we're going to get started. So to do that, if you got a question, make sure you leave it in the comments. I'm going to do my best to navigate each and every element of it. I'm a one-man shop tonight, but we're going to have some freaking fun with a good friend. So let me bring up Nick. Here we go. We got Nick Dunlap, 2023 U.S. Amateur Champion. In a little while, we're going to maybe have the guy who stole the show, Jeff Curl. At one point, my wife goes, "My God, is this the Jeff Curl show or the Nick Dunlap show?" But that's out of respect. Nick, welcome to Middle Game Live, man. U.S. AM champ. How's that sound?
I appreciate it. It sounds amazing, man. I appreciate you having me on.
So before we get to what it was like out there in Colorado, and by the way, I sent Canning, a good friend. I said, "Hey, look, I need a flag signed from Nick for Cherry Hills." The reason is I live on Cherry Hills. And the last time the USAM was at Cherry Hills, my guy was the medalist. So we're 2 for 2 and some pretty damn good stuff. You know who the medalist was back then?
Is this 2012 or 20? Is this the last Cherry Hills?
The last time.
I know who won it. I have no idea who finished medalist.
Okay. He played in the same building as you.
JT, maybe?
Nope.
Corey?
Nope.
Bobby?
Bobby.
There you go.
So I'll tell you a funny story. I love Bobby Wyatt, and Bobby was one of my very first clients ever. And we're going there, and Bobby's like, I always struggle in these like early match play stuff and, trying to play right. And he goes, I just feel like I'm going through the motions. And then I get in match play and I can't pull it all together. And I said, why don't you try to win the tournament? Like the 36-hole tournament. He goes, come on, what do you get for that? I said, a medal.
You get a pretty cool gold medal for it.
I get a medal. So anyway, thanks for joining me. Tell me what the whirlwind is like right now. How old are you? 19?
19.
19. So the chocolate milk out of the trophy has been pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, man. Just the last 2 days after it happened, I finally, yesterday or actually this morning, kind of got to wake up, by myself and just kind of look around like, man, this, I've got however many text messages and I'm looking through some old videos and videos from the tournament. Like, man, this actually happened. Like, the dreams of holding this trophy and, 4 years ago, touching it for the first time, when I was 15 at my first AM and not actually thinking that, someday I could actually, hold it and win it and maybe potentially join Tiger in history.
Yeah, pretty remarkable. 2 years ago, you won the U.S. Junior, right? You defeated another client of mine, Cohen Trolio. So it was kind of weird to have both of you guys coming down the stretch. What did you learn in that moment? Was it a thing that you knew you could do it? Was it the fact of what it took to win in match play? What was it that experience gave you?
I think it goes back to, honestly, I think it goes back to the start of that tournament and just being like, okay, like, I know I was playing really well coming into the event. And, there's sometimes you get punched in the mouth and sometimes worse than others. You hit the wrong ball, which I haven't done, I don't think, in competition ever. You 4-putt 2 holes later and you find yourself basically in dead last. And it was just kind of a weird turn of events. I'm sitting there thinking like, man, like after such a great summer, like, this is the event that I circled. This is the one that I wanted. And I'm going to go out like this. Like, this kind of sucks.
Did you have those thoughts in that moment?
Absolutely. I mean, I was literally, after 7 holes, like, man, this is like, I'm last place. Like, it's not, I think in that moment, it's not, it's hard to think like, okay, like it's, I've got 21 more holes or 29 more holes or however many holes you have. It's like, I think you immediately think of the negatives. And I think, something Jeff did, calm me down, kind of get me back in that process, hit one shot at a time, take one shot, one shot in front of you. And honestly, just try to give myself a chance come Tuesday on the back nine, just to get into match play. And, you're competing against 320 of the best amateurs in the world for 2 days. It's not like you have 4 days to catch up. So, trying to calm down, kind of when that start happens, your world's spinning, all you see is red, and, just try to take it one shot at a time.
Got a quote, or got a statement over here on Instagram. Somebody said they saw your determination since you were 9 at US Kids. And it's really cool to see you have that level of success. Fortunate enough to see you from when you were the little shithead around the club. Okay. And there's an amazing story in our golf group. I see your mom is on my Instagram live. I think she still is. And there's an amazing story about you taking $20 from one of our guys, and you rode home, and your mom made you ride your bike back up to the clubhouse to pay it back.
That's there's some stories made as people like me very much growing up.
You grew up a lot. I was having that conversation with one of your colleague members at Greystone in Birmingham today. I said, hey, I got Nick coming on, and Sam Love was out there, and we were talking, and I said, there's very few guys I've seen who have grown up to become the man that you are. And I mean that sincerely, Nick. I mean, you have not only blown me away at your maturity, but also your emotional maturity is unbelievable. And I think people look at your ability to swing a golf club and your ability to have the fire around the golf course. But the man that you become off the course and the way that you've represented yourself has been truly remarkable. And I give you that in the truest sincerity and the genuine nature. I'm proud of you, man.
I really appreciate it. And from somebody, I don't know when our first meeting was, and just from how you've guided me from the ups and downs, and from junior golf to amateur golf to where I am now is really cool. And can't thank you enough for all that.
Well, it's an honor, man. I was so tickled to see you hoist the trophy, and I know what it means to Greystone, and I know what it means to the Birmingham golf community. I mean, people don't understand. I mean, I think today Gordon was awarded the Mark McCormick Amateur of the Year award, right?
Correct.
Sergeant.
Correct.
2 miles from us, actually, where I live, and you're here. You got the Instructor of the Year and Mark Blackburn and his crew, and Brian Speakman's your coach. You got Jeff Curl, who's living on the first. I mean, you got Eric Eshelman at Birmingham Country Club. You've got this amazing group of people in this area, and it's really remarkable how great golf is coming out of here. And Smiley broadcasting you, I thought was just really cool, because I'm sure you've taken some cash from him over the years.
It's just such a small world, to be honest with you. I think growing up, Gordon and I were, kind of pushed against each other. You go to rival schools, and just this past week, we got to go out to Denver early for the Walker Cup, and just kind of sat on the putting green, and I got to know him for more than for just the golfer he is. He's the number one player in the world for good reason. I mean, his accomplishments stand for itself, and just to kind of talk to him, like, man, how cool is it? That 2 Birmingham guys are about to go overseas and represent something more than just us, and represent the United States. And it's just crazy to go all the way back to US Kids and from where it started to now.
It reminds me of a really cool story out of Baton Rouge. After I was done playing at LSU, there were 2 kids that were coming up in the same district, kind of like Spain Park and Thompson High School, whatever. And both got in the college ranks and started becoming dominant pitchers. Both were first-round draft picks, and both were the number 1 and number 2 pitcher on the Olympic team. And it's weird to think about. They were on the all-district team together at the same time, right? I mean, it's just greatness is formed by other people because of the competition. You grew up in a very competitive environment at Greystone. I mean, we can all talk about the money games, NCAA, the money games of golf tees, but you get my point, right? You're playing on a regular basis.
No, and it's like you just said. I grew up in an atmosphere. I was fortunate enough to play with a lot of pros growing up, with Seth being there, and Lee Hodges and Michael and all those guys. And I grew up getting beat by them every single day, and knowing that shooting 70, 69, 68 is not good enough. And I think it was a mindset early on that when you go out and shoot 68 against those guys and get beat, your immediate response is I need to get better versus, you go out and play with some of your buddies and you shoot, 70 and beat them by 3 or 4. It's like, man, I'm playing good enough. You don't get that, that hungry and that drive. And, I always kind of took the mindset of if I can compete against, Sepp and Lee, these guys are playing so great and, winning events, competing in majors that, it gave me that much more confidence, competing against the guys that I'm playing right now.
What were your early learning experiences? You played a lot of sports. You were a phenomenal football player. You were a pump, pass, and kick national finalist. You were a really strong baseball player. I know that firsthand from people I know who played against you. What was it that you learned from those sports? Because we want our kids to play multiple sports, but you were playing multiple sports, but you were also at the golf course all the time. Like, you were going from the golf course to, I know your mom and dad can agree with this. You're going from the golf course to practice back to the golf course. What did you learn about those other sports? Because a lot of times I'll tell kids, play other sports because you're not the best on the field. Well, shit, you were the best on the field there too. So what happened?
I think even something I've learned just from being in college and playing team sports here, there's nothing like winning as a team. And as you can probably relate, like those bus rides back, our bus ride back from regionals this year, hopping on that plane, punching the ticket to the national championship, there's nothing like it. Way more fun winning as a team than it is by yourself. You can celebrate as a group, as a whole, contributed. But something that drew me to golf is it's only you. If you win, it's on you. If you lose, you lost because you didn't play well enough. And I think something in team sports that was also, the triumphs were great, but I didn't like how, one guy could miss the last shot and you make it feel like it's on him, even though it's not. It's a team sport.
And golf, that's what I thrived in though, from baseball. Like I wanted that moment, right?
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I get it.
And I think that's something that golf, that drew me to golf is that you have that moment the entire round. It's all you, it's, you're competing against yourself and to play the best you can and match that up with everybody else.
Yeah. I'm pulling up my Instagram because I have so many questions from you and I'm filming live. I can't go to my questions there. I can't do it here. So if you look like I'm fooling this is, I'm not Smiley. Okay. I'm not in the industry. All right. So talk to me about the lead up, the thoughts that you have going into that tournament, the US Am. You did it the US Junior, 19 college freshman. You found something in the spring. Okay. Probably got healthy. That helped, right? You had a little wrist thing. Clark Holter told me to tell you that he was proud of your hunting over the winter. Saw him Monday. And, what is the thing that you found at the Linger Longer college tournament that started building, that allowed you mentally to get ready for that tournament that you just played at the US Am?
It really was as cliche as getting healthy. There was one thing that Coach Sewell promised me coming to college was we will get you healthy no matter what. He never once promised me like, hey, we're going to get you better. He's like, that's going to be depending on how hard you work and what you want to do on and off the golf course. But he's like, we're going to get you healthy. The training staff at Alabama and kudos to Clark, put, hours and hours into me and a ton of resources that he maybe shouldn't have done, but got positioned.
Well, he's got another job there, right? He's taking care of the men's basketball team, and last year,
our best team, at the school, but no, just to have that, and I finally got to put the hours in on the golf course, and which I couldn't do. I couldn't hit a certain amount of balls. I'd have to take 2 or 3 days rest in between. And I got to the point where I was confident on the golf course again. I put my preparation in. I was ready to compete. And even this last event that a lot of people don't know about, with my shoulder, that Clark helped me out a ton right after the quarters. Just all kudos to him. It really does go back to just getting me healthy.
So your shoulder got a little sore at the US Am, didn't it?
It did.
But I got a little inside information that it wasn't the golf course that did it.
No, it was, we actually, a couple buddies, a couple of the TaylorMade guys and the True Temper guy or True Temper rep went to Dave & Buster's after the quarters we had. They pushed the quarters up due to rain, and we had, from noon until 2:00 the next day. So we thought it was a good idea to go to Dave & Buster's and it's a little clown game where the clown pops up and you throw a dodgeball at it. And me and Keenan were playing against each other in that. And finally, after is like, man, I can't even lift my arm up. And called Clark in a panic. And, he fortunately got me in a place with a little stem and some ice to, in a place where I could get up and compete the next day.
It's funny. We talk about that. There's a lot of downtime, and that downtime often is what brings the mind into some negative spots. Keeping it focused. Whenever we would be on the road, and we would play at 7 at night, go to the ballpark at 3:30. We were always hoping we stayed near a mall with an arcade. I mean, it was because you're not going to get in a whole lot of trouble at an arcade. I know people are like, God, you're old, but dude, I mean, we'd bring our Xboxes, we'd bring our PlayStation. I mean, the Sega Genesis before then, but there's a lot of lonely time traveling in there.
You're not kidding. You got to figure out some kind of way to, like you said, relieve the mind. And I've gone to probably 4 or 5 Dave & Buster's so far this year on the road.
Is that are we jonesing for an NIL deal from Dave & Buster's?
Hey, if they want to support it, I'm all for it.
Okay. Right there, Dave & Buster's. Come on now, stand up, man up here. Take care of a guy who can credit a little bit of the USAM soreness and that focus to being able to focus at Dave & Buster's. How about that?
Absolutely.
Tell me, when you have those negative thoughts out there in the competition, I mean, I think a lot of times players are looking for, some avenues, some help when those negative thoughts come bombarding. How did you handle the negative thoughts? And I'm not looking for the right answer. I'm not looking for you to say, oh yeah, I followed what Bhrett said. I want to know what it was really like. Like, what were the doubts? I mean, even on the Sunday match, I mean, it was, hey, look, you lost a little bit of momentum going into after the 18 when he birdied the 18th hole. Like, that would have been a very easy place to been on your heels a little bit.
No, and I honestly, I'll go back to the 8th hole. I legitimately told Jeff, I'm like, hey man, like, we may need to book a flight. Like, this is like, I'm in last place. Like, this is getting bad and only getting worse. I'm finally kind of calmed down on 7, hit a great drive, had a 7-iron into a par 5, missed it in the only place you couldn't miss it, and then had a bunker shot where you have to get on the green somewhere and left it in the bunker and made a bogey. And I'm going to 8 and it's literally like, yeah, man, like we might as well just go home. Like we're about done. And it took me from about the time where I tapped it on 7 until walking to 8. Like I fought this hard to basically I was giving up on myself.
At that point, you were trying to get in the top 64. I mean, let's be honest, right?
But even I'm just walking up the fairway. I'm like, am I really giving up? Like, am I giving up on like the amount of time and effort I put in? I'm going to let, a lost ball from a spotter where I should have checked the ball and didn't, a silly 4 putt where I was trying to press and just a bad bogey. Like, I'm going to let that ruin the entire golf tournament. Like all the hours I put in for this event in particular, like I had circled before the calendar year even started, all these events working up to it, they were for the United States Amateur. I'm going to let that, ruin my golf tournament. And honestly, all I did was walking up to, that second shot at 8. I'm like, look, all I can do is, I can't remember who said the quote, is you can control your attitude. You can control how you go about what you're about to do. And honestly, all I tried to do is for the next 29 holes is give it all I got. And, if that wasn't good enough, I can hang my hat on that. But for the next 29 holes, I was going to give it all I got, regardless of the outcome.
I love it. I want to answer. I found some of these questions. Who's had the most impact on your golf swing? Who do you give credit to there?
I'd probably have to say Hank Johnson. Growing up, unfortunately, Hank's not here anymore. But he got me in a place where I don't have to worry about my mechanics very much. He was pretty harsh on that. Kind of my setup, my alignment, my posture. And then my takeaway and getting all those checkpoints into in a position and then just go play golf. And I think he, kind of beat that into me from a very early age. And it's something that I really don't have to worry about anymore.
How do you recover? Do you do ice baths? Brian Harmon, a longtime client of mine, wins the British Open. And I see him after his 36th hole, his hands are like ice cold. Okay. Get ready for the British. Get ready for Scotland. I'll tell you where to go over there. But his hands are ice cold. He goes, dude, I've been in the ice chamber. Like, I'm buying me one of those if I win. And he wins, right? Do you do ice baths? Do you do stuff like that to recover in between events or rounds?
I do a little bit. We've got an ice bath and then that hot tub at Coleman Coliseum in Alabama. I typically do that after our workouts. You go hot, cold, or no, you go cold, hot. And it honestly helps a lot with my legs and my hips. They tend to tighten up a little bit after workouts. Specifically, we'll do jumping lunges and some other stuff in the weight room, and doing that after always seems to loosen me up a little bit.
I got Clark over here on my Instagram Live. I'm sure he's got a question that he'd probably want to ask him about the Orioles. What advice would you give a young athlete who's looking to choose what sport they had to pick right now? And Curly's on, and we're going to bring him up in a minute. But I got to get through some of these questions before I bring on the Caddie extraordinaire. I got a funny story about that for him. But when would you tell somebody to kind of focus? What do you recommend?
Honestly, I'd say play them all. I really would. I learned a lot playing each sport. I've taken memories from each one, whether it's from the sport in general, or from the guys that I played with. I'm still fairly close to some of my baseball buddies, and I don't regret it all. Stop playing baseball. There's times where I wish maybe I had continued to pitch, but I chose the right sport.
Looking at your arms and the length of your arms, yeah. If you were a lefty, I would have taken those golf clubs that's wrapped around your neck.
But no, honestly, just trial and error. You're only young once, and I think playing those sports and learn as much as you can about each one, because you really don't know which one you're going to like. I didn't think starting out golf was going to be my most favorite sport. I was good at baseball and I was good at football, and I kind of figured I was going to play one of those until golf rolled around.
Was there a moment in junior golf where the light went on and all of a sudden you realized you could do it, not just beating curl?
Yeah, and then there was times where the light went off and I thought about playing baseball again. And it's weird how sports works and golf in particular, but no, I'd probably say at 11 or 12, kind of when I was started to play really well around that area, and I think I shot that 59 at Highlands. I blossomed from there.
Is there what was harder, the making a triple because of the wrong ball, kind of a stupid mental mistake, or going a couple of holes down? I know you were a couple of holes down, I think, in your third match. What was harder, in match play or stroke play, that kind of hole?
The triple, for sure. Just in match play, you can hit some bad shots. You can make a dumb mistake where you hit the wrong club or whatever that is. But the triple was legitimately on me. Like, I didn't check the ball. These guys kind of saw the ball go in this bush, and at Colorado Golf Club, there's only fairway and then there's waist high fescue. And we got up and over this hill, never saw it land. These three guys were standing around a ball. Like, yeah, your ball bouncing right here. And it was the same ball as playing Titleist 2, and I saw some red on it. And, it's, like I said, waist high fescue. I can barely even see the ball. And I took his lash as hard as I could at it, and it moved about 4.5 feet, and it had a logo on the side of it. And backed up about 3 feet and found it perfectly fine and chipped it out. But like I said early on, you don't have 4 days to make that up. And right off the bat that I handed 2 shots away for I didn't look at the ball.
Yeah.
And it was a very easy thing just to, pick the ball up and look at it, and could have saved me 2 shots. So
I've had 2 cases like that. One of my dear friends who's a former college golfer. He marks up his ball pretty funny. And he said, lost a college tournament hitting the wrong ball from the fairway. He said,
happen again.
Yeah, he said it'll never happen again. And the other one I had a Corn Ferry player hit a ball over a hill, went down there, and the marshal said, "Oh yeah, it bounced out of bounds." He's like, "Man, I did not hit it that far out of line." He tees up, he goes back, hits another one, hits that next one on, and he goes up about 30 yards in the middle of the fairway. There was his first ball. The guy had gotten the wrong player, so it happens. Let's bring in the man, Jeff Curl. And Jeff, thanks for joining. And the reason I say that, I'm giving you a lot of respect here because you earned it. Because one of the cool things about the USAM, and I watched it in the US Juniors, the way you communicate with Nick out there, and I think you do it in a way that caddies can be very helpful, because our own internal dialogue sucks all the time, right? But you were able to say, pick a guy, who's the kid, find a guy behind the green. All right, you're really good at this, and stuff like that. And so, talk to me about caddying for Nick and what you try to bring that we can all learn from.
That's a good question. Caddying for Nick's pretty easy for me because it's like talking to my best friend. And I've just been around him for so long. We have such a built trust. I think that goes back years, and it's not just on the golf course. It's built trust at the hunting club. It's built trust everywhere. So we kind of speak the same language. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people probably.
No,
but,
it does. It looks very fluid between the two of you.
Yeah. So it's just it's easy. And for me, getting into caddying like this has been fun. It's people ask me like, well, what do you is this planned or what do you? For me, it's just basically what I would want someone to say to me. I kind of put myself in his shoes at that moment, and I had some good caddies, some bad caddies, and I just kind of use all of it.
You've had some success. You as a caddy, you've been in 2 championship circles, but you also took another guy from Greystone to the Sweet 16 of the U.S. Junior this year.
Yeah, that was fun.
I was kind of wondering who you're caddying for this week.
No, I mean, until I get fired by Nick, it'll always be Nick. But I'm sure that day will come. Just like we had kind of discussed going forward a little bit. And my biggest concern is just I never want my caddying to interfere in our friendship. Like I'm always there for him. I'm always there to help him, and I'll give everything I can for him.
You've also, though, I was giving Nick a lot of credit earlier for maturing, but you've done the same thing over the last few years.
I appreciate
give you a lot of credit, and I've always been a big fan of Jeff Curl, but I've seen a maturation of you that's very impressive as well, and you've grown up a lot, and I think a lot of it's y'all's relationship.
Yeah, I mean that my relationship with my wife's gotten a lot stronger over the last 5 or 6 years. Just a lot of things in my life have changed for the better.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my relationship with Nick is definitely a positive influence.
Yeah. Is there when you guys are making shot decisions, you would cover your mouth when you talk to him? Was that just instinct, or were you trying not to tip signals and pitches to the opposing?
It's not really tip signals or pitches. It's more there's some things
That's the baseball guy in me. Come on now.
There's some things I want people to hear, and there's some things I don't want people to hear. And I think Nick's laughing because some of the stuff's probably not meant for TV.
Nor should it be.
And I don't know. It's just there's a little thing. I've caddied so much for him now, and he's caddied for me. We kind of, like I said, we speak the same language. I know when I need to go and say something, and when I need to just shut up and get out of the way.
Nick, when you're in that situation, and I know sometimes players in my tour guys, right? They'll say, the caddy's stuck, right? They're in a no man position. They don't know when to say something. You're in a death spiral on the 8th hole of the first round. Okay. Jeff writes something in your course book. I loved a comment after whoever outed that on social media, and it had one of the 2 things that didn't happen, that and that. And I'm like, no, I think that one pretty happened. I think that's authentic, and it's probably going to end up in a Hall of Fame somewhere. But in that moment, did you want to receive that from him? Because I don't know about you, but if I'm that pissed, the last thing I want is somebody telling me it's okay.
Can I feel this one first? Or
yeah,
go for it.
Yeah, it was. So I'm usually his biggest cheerleader out there. Like I try to keep the energy level the same throughout, good or bad. And I threw everything I could at him for the first, from 3 to 7 green. I was everything I could. And he was mad, and he was seeing red, like all players know the same.
I would hope so.
And it was awful. And I couldn't snap him out of it. He was white. And I knew if we could just stop losing shots, he was good enough and he's been playing great, that we'd be fine. But I just had to stop before we got too far out of the tournament. And on 7 green, he left at the bunker. We made a bogey with a 7-iron on a par 5. And it was the first time in a long time I've seen Nick kind of show a little bit of heat. And he chucked the club at the bag. And we had a long walk to me and him.
Probably deserved it, didn't it? The club.
He did, but we had a little long walk, and he was probably the most unhappy we'll see I've seen here. And I think he'll tell you I lit into him a little bit. And I challenged him. I think he's got so much pride. The fact I mentioned the Walker Cup. I said, you're not just doing this for you anymore. I think so highly of his game and who he is that I just wanted him to see, like, you represent more than just you now. This isn't junior golf. You're not 16. And then he had enough of me talking for a while. And then it took me, and he's laughing, but it took some convincing for him to even look at my yardage book because I was struggling walking up the hill because it was a pretty steep incline.
That was your yardage book. That was yours. You didn't get his.
No, that was mine.
Okay. He was actually.
Yeah, Bhrett, I'm looking and I'm like, I need you to read something for me. He's like, no. And I said, you got to read. No. And I said, you have to promise me you'll read something. And I just felt like I don't know what to do. I just knew if I could just get him to get back to neutral, if we could get to where we were on the first tee somehow, we'd be fine. I mean, like I said to everybody, I believe, and I always will believe he was the best player in that field. And he proved it.
It's interesting you say that because, we all need a reset sometimes, and we have to learn what our best reset is, whether it's eating. Pitchers, will bend over, go behind the mound, retie their shoes. They'll move. Sometimes pitching coaches come out and they're not telling them anything like, hey, make sure. Sometimes it's like, my God, I've got the worst gas today you've ever imagined. And people will laugh, right? And I've had that numerous times. Nick, when you're rolling though, and man, you're clicking. And there was a couple moments where it was like, watch out. How much information do you want?
I think it goes back to what he said earlier, just the trust we have each other. We speak the same language. It was funny. I remember we were walking down the 16th hole. I closed the match out on 15. I birdied 15 to go to 3 up. Can't remember what match it was to get to Dormy. And it's funny, we, like I said, we talk the same language, and it's weird. I can hear in Jeff's voice whether he's confident or not and how he says it. He can say he's confident, but I can hear how confident he is in his voice. I trust him enough whether he says it. He's like, hey, hit this club or hit a putt right here. And there's certain times where he will say, and it doesn't really matter and what situation it is in the match, like, hey man, the putt's right here. And if I hear that in his voice, I'm playing it right there. And there's a couple times late in some of these matches where he did that. And, I've got enough trust in him to do that. Worked out perfectly. When you're
out there competing, right, and it's a long process, you've got ups and downs of emotions. And what skills, what triggers do you use to reset? Because I know a lot of junior golfers think they have to be focused for 5.5 hours, and that's hard, right? And you're playing match play, and I'm sure there were times it got slow out there. You have a moment like 10 in the final match where ball you probably thought was out of bounds, although you didn't re-tee.
Did. When I got up there.
You thought it was out of bounds when you got up there too, right?
Did. I was trying to figure out how I could hit it lefty.
Yeah, and then you got the gift, right? Which was, you get a drop. First of all, how was that not marked? I mean, how was that a TIO?
We would have hit it there every day.
I agree. Perfect angle to the green.
How is that not a temporary movable obstruction? I mean, how is that a TIO? That thing's built in the ground, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a maintenance shaft.
Building.
Okay. Well, maybe we need to do that at the maintenance set on 7 at the Legacy. Or the fire station, because I could use that. How many strokes are you giving Curl and Smiley at the Founders and at the Legacy?
None.
Come on. None. These two guys aren't working hard enough.
None. No, I mean, Jeff will say he doesn't play anymore, but still shoots more 68s than I've ever seen in my life. We've got this cool little game now that it's whoever wins, and I've always told everybody this: if Tiger Woods is out there playing, Jeff's gonna be driving around. That dude does not like riding in the passenger seat, so we'll play this game where whoever drives gets to, or whoever wins gets to drive the golf cart.
I'm not driving as much as I used to, Bhrett.
I understand. Are you ready? My daughter put in a message because she's seen you guys out there forever, and she told a story. She told a story about when she was playing high school golf. She was in the bunker working on a new bunker technique, and she flubbed it in the bunker. And you looked at her and said, "God, it's got to suck to suck."
I said that?
No, Nick did.
Oh, thank God! I was like, I don't think I'm that rude.
And you just smiled, and she laughed. She was older than you, but she was like, "God," she was watching it. She's like, "I remember when." Are you ready for the PGA Tour, Jeff?
I mean, we'll discuss that when the time comes. But like I told him before, I will never say no if Nick needs it.
Well, then talk to me about that. You guys have played, Nick, you played in 2 U.S. Opens. Jeff, have you played in a U.S. Open?
Yeah, sure did.
Which one did you play in?
That's one of the few things I still have left over him. I've actually made a cut in the U.S. Open.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm 0 for 2.
Well, the first year, let's just say the adrenaline was really high in Brookline.
I've got to cling to everything I have right now, Bhrett. They're going fastly by the wayside.
I know it's okay. We had Michael Phelps on here a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "There's one record that has not been broken that I still hold, and it got broke like 3 weeks later."
Oh.
So,
yeah. No,
What did you learn? I mean, at that U.S. Open, I think probably Brookline was more of like an awareness of growing up and being there, right? LA was different. What did you learn about playing out at that level? Because you're going to do 3 of them next year.
I honestly learned from the first one that, I was fortunate enough to play practice rounds with Bryson and Colin. And I played the way they played. I thought, Colin was playing really well.
Excuse me.
I think whether it was the year before or 2 years before, he had won the British. And I thought that he was hitting driver in certain holes that's the club that should be hit. Kind of the same thing with Bryson, and they're hitting clubs that I was uncomfortable with. And it was something that I learned a lot from that week. And I talked to Jeff a lot at LA, and I don't like working the driver right to left. Whether it's a left or right wind, or you've got to figure out a way to work it against it. There's certain holes where I just got to do me. I think that's something we did really, really well at Cherry Hill.
Agree.
At Cherry Hills is we had a game plan that that a lot of people didn't stick to it. They were pushing up the fairway the first couple of holes, and we kind of stick to our 5-iron and 4-irons off the tee early, and that was kind of the thing that we did, and it worked for us, and it continued to work the rest of the week.
When you're in match play, how often? I get the question a lot: is how often should you play off the opponent versus playing your own process?
I think something that I do differently than most people is I'm a very competitive person, but I'm not trying to beat them 7 and 6. I'm trying to. I told Jeff this a lot. I'm trying to get to 2 to 3 up and then suffocate them. And make them feel like they have to do something to catch up, whether that's force it and try to make a birdie, or do something that they normally shouldn't. And that's typically when they either give me a hole or something like that. And I just kind of, I'm going to stick to fairways and greens and make them think that I'm not going to mess up.
When you start dropping bombs like that with your putter, your putting has become world class. Does that just free you up in other things that you're doing in that match play situation? Like my God, was that the 9th hole? I mean, it looked like it shifted. The 27th hole, man, it was like bam. Now I was a little concerned about the velocity of the hand slap. Jeff, you got to get really good at missing those. Okay. All right. I mean, your hand can be broken, his can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a baseball thing. Okay. Never slap with your pitching hand. Like you got to use both of them. What do you? When that putter's getting hot like that, is that just like the fun of freedom right there?
I think it's something that's gotten a lot better over the past couple of years. Especially inside of 10 feet. I'm a fairly good putter inside of that range. But it's something I've worked a lot this year on is lag putting. And it's given me more confidence with my irons than with my putter, because I don't feel like anymore. Last year I felt, there were some times where, if my speed wasn't great, I felt like I had to hit it closer to the hole so I wouldn't 3-putt, right? I wouldn't have a testy putt coming back. And I've gotten the confidence from long range now that I think I did it a lot this week, where I wasn't even marking it. I was just picking it up and going to the next hole. And it gave me, on certain pins or certain shots where I didn't like it, I, kind of wouldn't hit it at it. I would just kind of rely on my putter to, 2-putt and get out of there and go to the next hole and fire at a pin that I liked.
We've got a high school team, and more high school teams than that are watching us live, and they're watching in the auditorium. And I got a request from one of the high school coaches. Says, what golf advice would you give somebody? Would you give a high school player who wants to go to the next, wants to play better in high school, wants to take the next step in college? It's a lot of stress of being recruited. What would you tell somebody who's sitting in a high school right now, 14, 15, and sees you and is like, man, I want to be that someday?
Dream big. Honestly, I think I've taken personally that, first in the gym, last to leave. But more importantly, have have it detailed, whether it's a process you're going to go about or a goal for that day. I think, a couple of years ago, and Jeff kind of saw it early on that I was just kind of out there hitting balls. Like, I love being out there, but I didn't really have a goal as to why I was out there. And it's something the last few years that I would always practice, but I've got a goal in mind, or I've got a certain thing that I'm trying to accomplish being out there. And then more importantly than everything, and it's something that Jeff's helped me a lot with, is just having fun out there. It's why I like having, we're going back and playing in that game. It's a lot of fun. It's competitive, but there's a lot of jokes thrown around and some.
I was gonna ask that because Jeff is kind of becoming the junior golf whisperer, and he's getting a really good track record of not being the technical coach, but being kind of the mindset guy on the golf course. I always defer to guys who've been in those moments. I've never played at those levels. I'll teach you how to throw a slider all day long and do that. But Jeff, when you're out there and you're seeing a young player, what are the elements that you want them to practice so that they're ready for those moments?
Practice. I don't know if you can practice it. I think it's a good question, but I think it's more just getting yourself in those moments as much as you can, like Nick was talking about. And I take great pride in the fact that we've thrown Nick and now we've thrown Chase in the fire at a young age. And I think when you surround yourself with guys that are better than you and that are competing at a high level, I think these kids learn without even knowing they're learning. Nick's been around Sepp Straka now for 5 years, Nick?
Sepp is just one of the guys now, isn't he?
Yeah. And like we joked when he won, when we were at what?
He's not going to try to get you wearing squares though, is he?
You're
too young for those.
2 years ago, we joked a lot going into these matches at CNCC. It's like as the pressure got farther down and farther down, and he's playing these big names, like you play Sepp Straka every day. You play Trey Mullinax. You play Robbie Shelton. They're not, whoever we're going to play isn't as good as those guys. And I think that gives you comfort. That little Wolf Snake Cup thing we did, I purposely threw him out against Trey in the last match to hopefully build some confidence and to build some, whether you win or lose, you learn about yourself. And I think that matters a lot.
I think it's great. There's a great book from Stephen Kotler called Rise of Superman that talks about community, and community develops players to perform at a high level. And so to see your ability to do that, and Curly, you do a great job of getting guys out there and competing. You did a lot during COVID to get guys competing, but you've done a lot. The game is really good, and it's not an inappropriate game. I want people to understand when I say this. It's not the weird games of all the. It's competition.
Oh yeah.
It is not goofy golf. It is not. The older guys are not out there with 15 beers in the back of the cart. It's golf, and it's go. Am I right?
Yeah, nobody likes to lose. No matter, I still don't like to lose to Nick. It bothers me immensely. And if I get to beat him in drive, I know he drives 50 minutes mad, and that makes me happy. And I think it's the same with Sepp. Me and Sepp have he's obviously in a completely different stratosphere as me, but we have a great little rivalry of just, I now get shots from Sepp, and every time he keeps winning, I get another shot. So I root for Sepp on a weekly basis. There's just
as I was leaving Eastlake today, I ran by him to give him a little shit.
Yeah,
the reason I say that, he's going to be on the opposing team.
There's
he's
just a lot
of yellow and blue.
But we have a lot of great players at the club, and it's just a great atmosphere for growing young talent.
Yeah. What do you, Nick? When you're Clark told me to say that was an inappropriate jab I had for the Orioles, so I guess my next gear from Alabama basketball will be in size mediums. What do you, when you look at this year now? I'd be remiss not to ask you this. Now, everywhere you go, you're the 2023 U.S. Amateur Champion. The first thing you said when you called me and you were like, dude, I said, buddy, your life has now changed. And that's something to embrace. I had that conversation with somebody who's got a green jacket today about that same thing about changing. And it's awesome, right? And I'll tell a little story. A year and a half ago, we were in Scottsdale for a party for John Rahm for winning the U.S. Open. He had really nice gifts for all of us, watches, and it was wonderful. We were celebrating, and I got to meet Michael Phelps there, and I'm a big fan of Michael Phelps. And we were sitting there, and I went over and talked to him, and he came back around, and I was like, I'm trying not to fanboy, but like my wife wanted to take a picture. I was like, no, you're not. And then later, it was the six of us: his wife, my wife, John, and his wife, and we were all sitting around talking. And I said, Michael, when you would win and you leave, how did you reset? And John laughed. He goes, Bhrett, after I won the U.S. Open, I called you and I said, what do I do now? And you said, you get your ass back to work because the stratosphere's changed. It's not the fact that it's harder. It's the fact that the only way we can answer it is work. You winning a U.S. AM, you're going to go back to college, okay? Now you're going to the Walker Cup, then you're going back to college. Tell me what you see is what you're going to rely on, and how are we going to do this? Because I think a lot of people would want to know that.
I think it was honestly something our new assistant said today that kind of hit home for me. Growing up, I always shot big. I shot for the guy that was number one in the world. That was the best player, and I was trying to take him down. And I did everything I could to make that happen. And now, he kind of said, he's the coach at Troy, and he's like, we gunned for you guys every single day. Like, we were trying to beat Alabama. And he's like, now that we are Alabama, like, if we don't keep working hard, we're going to get beat by people that we don't want to get beat by. And it was something that really hit home for me is man, like, if I don't keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to eventually get beat by people that I do not want to get beat by. And it's something, you said about fame I'm not doing this for the fame. I'm not doing this for the money. It's not why I wake up at 5 o'clock. It's not why I'm hitting balls at 10. I'm doing this to try to win trophies and to try to make a name for myself and leave the game better than I found it.
Well, the good news is I've been around a lot of number ones. I've been around those guys, and we'll get you a good little plan. I'm not too concerned about it. And I know Carl's not going to let you let up because you don't want his ass to beat you. I mean, come on, let's be honest. You can lose to a guy. I mean, but I knew you were going to lose to a guy from Florida or Auburn or something like that, right? There's no way that was going to happen.
No, it's worse losing to Carl because I get to hear about it for about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks at a time.
Yeah, I got to teach him how to just continue to bomb you on Instagram to make it better. Do you have Instagram, don't you, Carl? Or
I do not. I've
too young for him.
It is too young for him. I know.
Yeah, it's too young for me. I stick to Twitter and the old man Facebook.
You probably still have a MySpace account, don't you?
Somewhere, probably, yeah.
Somewhere, probably. You probably had all kinds of good jams on there. Has your good buddy Matt Every asked to have you on straight down the middle-ish yet?
I haven't. No, I haven't done that one yet. I'm to be honest with you, I'm trying to keep this as low key as possible.
I know. I was actually asking Nick.
No. I just, like I said, my biggest goal in this is to not be seen. When I'm out there, I want to be seen and I want to be heard. I want people that we're playing to know that we're a team and that I'm going to give everything I have and we're trying not to make any mistakes. And when he's playing like that, it's pretty simple. But as soon as that term is done and he starts thanking people, I just want to disappear.
Well, I knew very clearly watching you two. I was raised. My dad made it very clear is that the great stand in the shadows, and I knew the attention that was coming your way, Jeff, was not what you wanted because you wanted to glorify what Nick was doing, and I knew that. I can tease you because I've known you for a really long time, and I know what your heart really was, and that was to celebrate a young man achieving some amazing goals and to be a part of that. Just to be 1%, I can answer from this way. My daughter, we were teasing about, she thinks you're the greatest thing walking, and she's watching that just with pride. And we all are here. Our club is so proud of you and proud of what you've done. We ain't done yet. We're not done, but I know, Jeff, I know how you felt there. And I know that
for me, Bhrett, it was awesome. You know what I mean? Like, it was the coolest thing to watch. He said, and it goes back to me checking him out when he was in 6th, 7th grade, checking him out of Berry Middle School 1,000 times to go deer hunting, and just the bond we formed, just, the drives there, the amount of times we've discussed moments like that, and to have two special ones over the last 2 years. And to be honest, it's mind blowing, but I hate to, I've been telling you since he was 14, like I've been telling everybody that'll listen. Sometimes when he's not playing great, people think I'm crazy, but I believe in him. I know what's inside that heart, and it's impressive.
No, I agree. What are you? You're getting ready to go over to Scotland for the Walker Cup. First time to represent the USA wearing the red, white, and blue.
Correct.
What is that going to feel like?
It's everything, man. For some reason, I'm not sure exactly how I got it, but a buddy of mine, I've got a ball from the very first Walker Cup, and it's sat on my nightstand for the past 2 years, ever since I found out I was at St. Andrews. And for me, it was everything. I wanted to be on that team. It was something that was circled twice, at the start of this year, and it was something that I played every event trying to get at. I wanted to be on that team. I wanted to represent something that's more than just me. And obviously, playing my first Walker Cup at St. Andrews, the home of golf, and obviously the history behind that place goes unsaid. But it's going to be really, really special.
Have you ever been over there? Have you ever been to Scotland? Have you been?
Never been over there. First
Jeff,
time.
Have you been? Have you played it?
I have not played over there. No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you one piece of advice. Make sure you get a Mr. Whippy. It's their ice cream over there. And I know you are so fit, but even my really, really fit players like Billy Horschel will eat them over there. And also get the chocolate Cadbury. It's just not like anything else over here. I mean, of course, the fat guy was going to tell you those two good things.
I'm all in on that. Both of those.
Yeah. Are you going, Jeff?
I am. I'm leaving Tuesday night.
Nice.
It's going to be sweet. Yeah, I can't wait.
Okay. There's a really great Italian restaurant in the middle of town that I would highly recommend. That during the British, it was really hard to get into, but there's no place more special than that. It's really, really special. All right. Now I have to ask this question. You get the call to go spend a little time with Coach Saban. First time?
No, I can't say that.
He comes out to the building all the time, doesn't he?
He does. I got to Coach Sewell actually posted something today that it was on my official. I'm getting to meet Saban, and then just yesterday taking the trophy to see him. But no, it's cool to see him. He's you can say a golfaholic. He's out there all the time, and he's got something really cool about him is he doesn't have an off switch. He's constantly trying to get better at whatever he's doing. He's one of the most competitive people I've ever met. He's sitting on the range watching me hit balls for an hour or two and picking my brain as to why I'm doing what I'm doing and trying to help his game. And sitting there, he's asking for putting tips and advice, and just to see that at 72 years old and just the drive he has, that it's not even on the football field; it's in everyday life.
What you move into rarefied air, and it's really cool to be on the campus of Alabama. I mean, you've got last year we had 2 lottery picks. We have the Heisman Trophy winner. We have the #1 pick in the draft. We have all around. I know Nick, Jeff, are you a Bama or are you Auburn?
Bama.
Okay.
Married into the Bama family.
Married into it. Okay. I worked there. The LSU guy, but worked there. Roll Tide. Love it, and I've become a massive Roll Tider because of it. What do you when you walk around and you're in that? I mean, you've got greatness at every level. Montana Fouts last year. You have what is that like in that kind of setting? I was in school with Shaq. That was cool. My roommate was essentially the Heisman Trophy winner of baseball. But this is pretty special right now at Bama.
It's humbling, honestly. Even kind of when I stepped on campus, we had some kind of all athletes get together kind of thing. I can't remember when exactly it was. It really is humbling. You go from being, the best in your area, the best in your high school, the best in the state, or whatever that is, to now you're surrounded by people that were exactly like you. You're surrounded by the best of the best. You're surrounded by, each guy or girl in there was probably one of the best in the world at their sport. Just to kind of share that with people and to respect that what they did get to where they are is something that kind of we all share. And, it's a cool little bond that we all have.
What do you, is there, looking at Augusta, looking at all that, and I'm excited for that experience with you. What, who are you looking for practice rounds? I mean, you're going to get a lot of starts on the PGA Tour when you're ready and all the other stuff, but who do you want to do practice rounds with? Where do you want to go?
That for sure. I'm definitely, it was funny. He called me kind of right after we finished and, probably going to set one up for as many events as he's there. It's been really cool for me. He's obviously, you can almost say a seasoned veteran by now. but just to kind of, follow him and watch what he does at these events and how calm and confident he is. And it almost gives me a sense of calmness as well. Knowing, how well I know Sep, and just the things he's done has been really, really fun and cool for me to watch. And, I've learned a lot from it.
Have you ever been to Augusta?
I've been once. I think I went the year that Jordan set the record. I can't remember what year that was. 18 or something like that. I was there that Saturday, and it was funny. I actually didn't believe the grass was real. I thought it was AstroTurf when I was first there. But now just from seeing it on TV and growing up playing video games on it, it's going to be a pretty special experience. And something that Jeff and I talked about all week is we both wanted to go to Augusta, and for that to finally come true, and in just a couple of months, is going to be really special.
I'm not going to play there, but I went when I first moved to town a long time ago, and a neighbor was from there, and he said, "Come on, we're going to go." So we went, and I was in another industry, and I said, "I'll never come back until I'm coaching players." And I think last year I had 6 guys in the Augusta field, and it's humbling. There's no place. To me, it's the Fenway, it's the Yankee Stadium, it's Soldier Field, it's just special, and we'll do some work to get you ready for it. But I've got a couple hints that I always tell young players what to do, and we'll do that, and we'll have a great time. We'll be walking on air there, so it'll be fun.
No, I'm super excited, and it was funny. I can't remember who said it, but I'd asked Jeff if he was planning on going commando in the white jumpsuit, or if he was
please don't
wearing shorts, or but no, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Hey, I got to tell you, Jeff, I got a call from one of my caddies and my guys, and he was like, "I'm watching it," and I go, "My God, that's Jeff Curl on the bag. Oh my God." He goes, "I used to go head to head with him on mini tours in the Corn Fair or whatever, and now I'm looking up and I'm like, my God, he's good at this."
Yeah, I didn't know I'd ever be this. I didn't know I'd be good or bad at it, and it's weird. Like I said, it's so.
Well, don't let Willie Wilcox take the lead as a caddy on the PGA Tour.
No, I'd say I don't know if I have any aspirations of caddying for anybody other than Nick.
I understand that. I understand.
For me, it's like I said, to be away from my family as much as I was for a long time. It's going to take a special person to get me out there, and probably only Nick.
One quick question. I just got a question that came in. When low on confidence, when you're in between, Nick, and you're low on confidence, what do you do?
Oh gosh, it's a good question.
Because it happens to everybody, right? I mean,
absolutely. I'll tell you straight up. I think it was the quarters match, and I'll just give you an example from recent. I don't 3-putt a lot. I don't miss many putts inside 8 feet or 10 feet. I had 3 putts that quarterfinal match, and missed 2 putts inside of 8 feet. Probably missed a 6-footer or 7-footer on the last hole to win, and I hadn't really made much all day, to be honest with you. Is one of those weird things that when Jeff's on my bag, we normally don't miss reads that often, and for whatever reason, he doesn't know this, but we were seeing probably about a foot difference on every putt out there. Whether I said it or not, whether he had picked a point I was seeing differently, or just one of those weird days.
It's just off, right? You just didn't. It wasn't dialed in.
It's hard. It's harder for me to lose confidence with a putter than any other club. But it just kind of happens, unfortunately. And I'm saying over the last putt on the last hole, we both saw the same thing. And honestly, I'm getting over it. It's like, man, like all I can do is hit a good putt here. Whether the confidence is good or not, I wasn't trying to hit a perfect putt, and it's all I can do is hit a good putt. If it misses, it misses. If not, I can hang my hat on it. Fortunately, it kind of went right over the mark we were looking at and went in.
Well, I think I texted you right after that one. Is you got to have one of those tough ones to win it all, and you endured it, and that was critical. Well, hopefully the Dave & Buster's sponsorship will go through, and but we'll stay away from dodgeball. Okay.
Or fastballs. He tried to be you, Bhrett.
I know. As a baseball guy, when we go on the road, we weren't allowed to bowl, and we weren't allowed to swim. Bowling swells the fingers. So
that was one of the scariest moments of that whole week. That was probably the only time I was nervous, because he won't tell me if he's hurt usually until either days later or hours later. And when we got back out, when he picked that club out of the trunk and went, we got a problem. I was like, did we really just ruin our chances at Dave and Buster's?
Yeah. Your mom just put on here that you'd like a sponsorship from Chipotle. And I'm going to say this to every single golfer. What in the hell is the relationship with golfers and Chipotle?
I have no idea. I think it was funny. I think it was Colt asked me how many more, if I've done more 2-a-days or 2 bowls at Chipotle. And I honestly.
Colt probably had more two bowls of Chipotle.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I love Colt. Okay. I gotta let you go because you got to go to Scotland. And what's your class load like this year at Bama? Are you?
Actually, I'm going all online this semester.
Okay.
Was fortunate enough to also get invited. I'm going to go to Dubai and play in the U.S. team, which will be really. And that's kind of right in between our third and fourth event, which will be great. I'm not missing any school golf, and I'm looking forward to getting back. And just these last couple days,
You do fly first class to Dubai, right?
I sure hope so.
Okay. Sep's coach shared with me a really good thing years ago. He said, do the math and figure out what it costs to always fly first class. It's not what you think in the difference of a year, and you can make that back up with one little putt. And as a coach, I fly first class every time because that's what we do. So don't get stuck in coach until you can start flying private, and then we're all flying with you.
I would get mad at the USGA put me in first class. But no, like I said, I'm looking forward to honestly just to get back into school and playing with some of the guys and representing the AA. And those guys we've all gotten pretty close to each other, and I'm looking forward.
Yeah, I got to ask, what was that like? I'm sorry, what was that like to see them there? Did you know they were coming?
I knew Cannon was coming. I didn't know that the other 3 were going to come.
That's some special stuff.
It's really cool. It's really, really cool. And just to that was our starting 5 last year, and to see how unselfish those 4 guys were, and to come out and support me and show the loudness and the energy that they brought, honestly lifted me up. Gave me a little spark, and we had some special moments after, but I love every one of those guys, and I'd do anything for them, and obviously what they showed me, and
that was unprecedented. I don't know of another. I've never seen that before. Maybe it's happened with another school, but I mean, if I was on the other side, I'd be like, shit.
It wasn't easy for them either. I mean, they drove to Atlanta. I got a text from Cannon as soon as we were finishing. Hey, we're coming. Don't say a word to Nick. And that was probably the hardest thing I had to do all night, was just because it's such a cool thing.
Oh, unbelievable.
And when Cannon put it on, what he put on his Instagram or Twitter somewhere, that they were up at 3:15 leaving that place in Atlanta.
Well, let's just say, and Smiley put it perfect. I don't know if they were up or they just haven't gone down yet.
Fair.
No, I mean, my first thought was a booster had to have flown them out there. No,
they spent that on their own dime. They, like I said,
that's even better.
Yeah,
they drove to Atlanta. I think 3 of them slept on couches. Got up at 2:45, 3 o'clock in the morning, and flew out there and watched me. And knowing that in the back of my mind, it was just that ending and looking at them, and it was super special to me, and it still gets me emotional.
Well, I just got a message on Instagram that said, yes, you will be flying first class. So I'm not sure if this person is connected or not, but Reese, is there a Reese that you know?
Reese.
Oh,
okay.
Reese.
Yeah, Reese Mosley. So he said you'll be flying first class. So
fantastic.
I don't know if he's who he is, but
he's the team captain, isn't he?
He's the team captain for the Dubai trip.
Yeah.
All right, Reese, it's on there now. I mean, you put it out there.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, look, I hope we have a celebration at Greystone one day. I'll be there if I'm around. And once again, guys, you did us right. You represented us beautifully. I mean this sincerely from bottom of my heart. Both of you have emerged and grown into amazing men. And it's an honor to be a part of the team. It's an honor that you guys trust me. And I'm freaking excited for you guys. So roll Tide. Here we go.
Roll Tide. Like I said, I really appreciate you having me on and the support you've given me throughout the years. And look forward to working with you in the future.
We got a lot more to win now. Come on.
Sure do.
All right. Well, listen, you guys have a great one. Have a great trip. Make sure you hit the Mr. Whippies. They'll put a little chocolate stick in it. It's great ice cream. Trust me on that as a fat guy.
Thanks for having me on, Bhrett.
You got it. We'll talk to you guys later. And that's it for Middle Game Live. And we will catch you guys next week. And we'll probably have a pretty good guest on next week too. But it's always great to get these guys on and talk about what matters. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for hitting me on Instagram Live. And we'll see you guys next week.